Here we go. I'm getting ready to play my interview with Long Beach City Attorney's Office investigator Christopher Mayora. This interview occurred shortly after the Long Beach Police Department raided my residence when I was campaigning for Congress in 2016. They entered my residence without a warrant or probable cause. We're actually at the residence prior to my arrival there after I'd been out gathering signatures for my nomination documents for Congress. They held me at gunpoint and interrogated me and eventually left after I asked them why they were there and made a comment stating that I found it to be something of a coincidence that they were trying to throw me out on the street while I was running for Congress against then Congressman Alan Lowenthal, while the whole situation was never resolved by Councilwoman and Orange County District Attorney Susie Price. I sent her an email complaining about the raid and the second raid that happened the following Friday. And her only response was that she forwarded the documents to the responsible departments in the city, and then she took no further action. And then the city attorney's office elected to file a damage claim excuse me, on my behalf without my consent, that I was informed by Mr. Mayora several days later they had then dismissed, claiming it was frivolous. So what they basically were doing was trying to deny me due process and the ability to file a damage claim against the city for the police raiding my house with the photograph of myself in custody, I believe, posted on my Facebook page. And you'll notice I had a very large abrasion on my forehead, which the people within the court building, or the officers in charge of handling those documents, elected to convert from a digital photograph, which is present in my records, to an extremely grainy black and white photograph where my face looks more like a thumbprint than it does an actual image. So they were trying to disguise a potential wound on my head. This actually occurred, I don't know, I was arrested and dragged in. Either way, they basically altered my arrest documents in order to conceal the fact that I had a wound on my head, but that's yet another issue. So I'm going to basically record this audio CD via video so I can then upload it to YouTube. So let us proceed.
It is April 17, 2017, 10:42 a.m. On the line with me is Mr. Richard Camp. And Mr. Richard is calling regarding a complaint against members of the Long Beach Police Department. Mr. Camp, you're aware that I'm recording the conversation and you're fine with it, correct?
Oh, this is actually
Okay.
my
And do you
recording.
mind letting me...
This actually is a recording I conducted, I do believe, with a member of the Long Beach Police Commission. Sorry, I have two different recordings here. This CD is actually a recording of an interview I did with a woman from the Long Beach Police Commission regarding the same raid. Well, they ended up not investigating anything, and they didn't do anything to follow up on this interview. So I may as well just go ahead and record both. So there you go. This first interview is with the Long Beach Police Commission.
It is April 17, 2017, 10:42 a.m. On the line with me is Mr. Richard Camp. And Mr. Richard is calling regarding a complaint against members of the Long Beach Police Department. Mr. Camp, you're aware that I'm recording the conversation and you're fine with it, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you mind letting me know what your complaint is about?
In order to understand the situation, let me try and put it in the proper context. During the period of 2011 to 2012,
Okay.
I went through a great deal of effort to establish a radio and a television network here in Long Beach. Over that to muster an entire volunteer video production crew of professional directors, editors, and camera people. And I had also gotten a professional programming manager to manage radio. The Long Beach Playhouse had given us permission to use their stage as their home set. I wanted to create an original program to begin to launch the network with, and at the time I had made the acquaintance of the former mayor's wife, Nancy Foster, and asked her if she wanted to help produce a women's health discussion program. She agreed to help co-host. After getting to the point of pre-production, I had to somehow raise funds for a business license and production insurance to begin. I had informed everyone on the crew I was going to spend the next month trying to raise the funds to start the shows. And 2 weeks later, the Playhouse was burglarized, and someone made off with $50,000, and they had to shut down. So I ended that effort, but at the time, Nancy had become one of my Facebook friends. So fast forward to 2013, and the fire engine from Fire Station 8 had disappeared. Literally, it had gone out of service, and one of my friends and some other folks from the Laverne Avenue Residents Association had started a petition campaign to return the fire truck and save the fire station. I asked him what was going on, and I was informed by my friend Bob Campbell, who was an attorney and who at that time had gathered over 1,000 petitions, that they were being told that the reason the fire truck was not in service was because the mayor, the city manager, and the majority ruling, the city council at the time, as they were described, had quietly begun removing crews and apparatus out of service so that they could create their, at the time, $3.5 million budget surplus.
That's so fun.
Along the way, firemen had attempted to complain about response times being increased, potential knockdowns being total losses, and people getting killed. Somehow they ended up getting disciplined, and the department was hit with a gag order. I found out a week later that the police department was also under a gag order after the Archibald's restaurant got burglarized, and the manager there told me that the police told him that they were under a gag order. So all of this came to my attention. At the time, the city was not allowing the group to file their petitions into the record, and they were getting the runaround. So I decided to post comments on my Facebook page, basically saying what I said. A week later, 2 police officers showed up at a garage space that I was renting to store my detailing supplies. I'm a mobile detailer, DJ, and a sound engineer. I was renting space in a garage that is located on Covina Avenue, just south of 2nd Street here in Belmont Shore. It is the second apartment building south on Covina from the Jack in the Box. I was seated in the garage, which has a door that is angled perpendicular to the alley. It's angled to the right, away from the alley, to make it easier to enter the garage. 2 police officers pulled up in a patrol car, unbeknownst to me, behind the Jack in the Box in the alley, and walked up to the garage and started interrogating me about why I was sitting in this garage, who I was, did I have permission to be here. They asked the neighbors if I had permission to be there. They went and asked my friend who lived in the unit there if I had permission to be there. And they ran me for warrants and holds and asked me a number of questions. And then they asked me for my social security number when they left. This was witnessed by the manager of the BJ's Pizza, which is next door to the Jack in the Box, who was standing in the back having a cigarette with one of the employees, and the gentleman that pulled up in his Mercedes during my interrogation.
Forgot about that.
And stated to the officer who was interrogating me that somebody had just stolen something like $5,000 spare tire accessory off the back of his other Mercedes SUV, and he wanted to file a complaint. And the police officer looked at him and said, "What do you want me to do about it?" And the gentleman looked at him and was flabbergasted, and he didn't know how to reply. And eventually just said, you know what, I'm just going to go to the police station and drove off. So on the same day, somebody probably filed a auto theft report. But so after they left, I announced I was going to run for mayor after I had discovered a week later that I was now being hit with massive identity theft and fraud. I had almost zero credit activity up until that time, and the coincidence is pretty substantial here. I was suddenly hit with massive amounts of email from every credit service under the moon about loan requests and credit service repair and all this other stuff. I called the department, the police department, and asked them if it was standard procedure for officers to take your people's social security numbers, and I was informed that it was a gray area. So I had to let it go. Moving on into September, I qualified as a candidate for mayor, and immediately thereafter, a man named John Cornelius Harris, who was a field sales representative for Young Market Liquor Company, would come into my store. I used to work at the Decanter Liquor on 62nd Place on the Peninsula.
Okay.
This was when, again, I had become a candidate for mayor. Harris shows up and starts an argument with me in the store and starts threatening me. I told him to leave. He continued to threaten me for 2 months as he arrived to make deliveries for the store. And finally, on Thanksgiving Day, he showed up to make a delivery and threatened to kill me.
Okay.
The next day, I called his employers, and I told them about what was going on, and I requested that he be replaced. They told, I was informed by the woman that answered the call that his 2 most senior supervisors had been emailed a statement about what I had said. A few days later, Harris returned and continued threatening me and told me that if I was going to call his job, that I should get a lawyer first. At that point, he started pulling his car over and jumping out of his car and attempting to assault me in the street. It happened 4 times between Thanksgiving and December 3rd.
Okay.
On the 4th occasion, he parked his car in the 7-Eleven parking lot at Ocean and Terminal and chased me throughout the intersection, trying to strike me with a piece of asphalt that he picked up off the ground in front of dozens of people. People at the 7-Eleven, a construction crew that was building a barbershop on the opposite corner on Ocean and Terminal. This went on for so long. I was being chased in circles around one of the construction workers' trucks by Harris as he attempted to hit me with this piece of asphalt. The worker came out and started his truck and moved it, and I ended up fleeing back across the street. And then Harris came over and jumped in his car and left. At that point, I called the police, and I filed a terrorist threats complaint against him. I was met by Sergeant Jones at the donut shop on Laverne and 2nd Street. And I filed the first of 3 terrorist threat complaints against this man. And some ironic twist, the very next day, he had one of his associates serve me a restraining order.
I'm sorry. One more time. He had an associate what?
Serve me a restraining order. Somehow, it had occurred to him, or he was told, to go get a restraining order against me immediately after I filed the terrorist threat complaint against him. So I've never been served before. I've lived in Long Beach for 25 years. I've never been arrested. I've never been charged with anything. I have never seen the inside of that jail. Okay? I've been up and down through alcoholism and all kinds of other struggles that other people do. I've never had a DUI. Right. In the height of my worst stage of alcoholism, I won a $40,000 workman's comp case, but I didn't buy a car because I knew how troubled I was, and I didn't want to endanger any children. You understand? That's how I think. Now, Harris gets this restraining order against me. I never saw a copy of it. What's that?
This was in December. You mentioned it was January.
I filed the first police complaint on December 3rd, 2013. The following day, I was served a restraining order by an associate of Harris. Now, it is common knowledge that Harris moonlights working for organized crime. He is an underling of a res resident over here on the peninsula that is very openly a member of organized crime that handles betting, loan sharking, money laundering, all kinds of other stuff. This man goes and hangs out along Restaurant Row over there in Naples. I mean, he's very well known. Harris operates gambling at locations where he serves as a salesman and picks up debts and he's a debt collector for a member of organized crime whose day job is a salesman operating illegal gambling and other things at places he does sales at. I'm going to give you two locations where he operates, or at least was, until all of this happened, and now places are changing hands, and employees are coming and going. But the person who served me the first restraining order used to be the manager of a deli at ABC Liquor, which is just off the corner of Ocean and Terminal. He takes bets at the deli, and it's very open. The guy that is the boss has meetings in the deli with his friends from San Pedro to sit around drinking wine. So the deli guy that takes bets for Harris serves me the first restraining order. As I said, I've never been served, considering I just filed a police complaint against this guy the day before, and his friend shows up and tries to hand me a stack of documents. I just looked at him and turned around and walked away. I didn't even accept him. I let him hit the ground, and I immediately went in the other direction. So I never even saw the order. To my knowledge, I believe it was to stay away from Harris. Okay. So for the next year, well, let me finish here. So I filed my police report. The next day, Harris hits me with a restraining order. I waited 2 months for the police to do something about it. I finally called the Violent Crimes Division and was put on the phone with a detective, Matsuburu. I'm not exactly sure. I did a 30-minute interview with him on the phone about the situation with Harris. The following day, he showed up at the store and he introduced himself to me. Then he disappeared. I never heard from him again. For the rest of that year, into 2000, this is 13. Yes, for the rest of 2014, 2015, and into 2016, Harris is still threatening me. He's chasing me around in his car. I ride a bike primarily. He's trying to run me over on my bike. He's trying to cut me off and force me into parked cars. He's chasing me around different places in his car. I made at least 6 different phone calls to Detective Matsuburu telling him that this guy is still threatening me. He just did it at one point, circling around the block where the Ripples nightclub is located on Ocean and Granada. They have video cameras that the police department has access to. I call the detective. I go, here, Harris has been chasing me around Ripples, and it's on video. Can you please check it out and go charge this guy? I hear nothing. Finally, in 2016, before I get too far ahead of myself, I have my first incident with the 2 officers in May or June of 2013. I qualified for mayor, and I am now being openly threatened by Harris. Okay. The election ends in, May or June of 2014. Mm-hmm. I immediately tried to qualify as a candidate for Congress because that primary hadn't occurred yet. When I went to file my documents at the county clerk's office, I, at the time, was residing as a caretaker for my friend's house on the peninsula. His name is Eric Wilson. He's an entertainer. He's one of the members of the band Sublime. He had just bought a larger property down near Oceanside and was preparing to put his Long Beach property on the market. When I was running for mayor, he asked me if I wanted to stay at his old house until he put it on the market and sold it. This was in, I think, February of 2014. So I moved into his house, and I had lived there for about 3 months before attempting to qualify for Congress. So when I went to the county clerk's office, I public attorneys, politicians. They wouldn't let me do it. I had to put my residence address on my documents. So I submitted my documents, and I was given all of my nomination papers, and I went out and began campaigning and gathering signatures to try and qualify for the ballot. This was on Wednesday. On Sunday, I returned home to charge my phone, and there was a police car idling next to the house, but there were no police officers around. I couldn't find them. They weren't in the house. They weren't around the property, so I went into the house. Shortly after that, when I was standing upstairs, I saw two officers walk by on the boardwalk, and a few moments after that, they entered the side gate and then entered the kitchen door of the house. Okay. Now, in order to get through the side gate, you have to step on the fence and reach over and unlatch it. You can't just pull a string and open the gate. You have to literally go to an effort to reach over the fence. Now, at the time, there was a house full of people next door, and the kitchen door and the front door face each other. The two police officers first let themselves in the gate, then they let themselves in the kitchen door. And then I heard, police, come out with your hands up. And I actually didn't think that these two police had actually entered the house. And my reply was, really? Because I thought it might have been Eric or some of his friends playing games. Then I heard, Long Beach police, come down here with your hands up. So I come walking down the stairs, and there's two police standing in the kitchen with their guns pointed at me. They order me on the floor, and they're telling me that if I don't provide them proof of residency, they're going to throw me out of our house and arrest me for trespassing. And I started going around and around with these guys. Do you know that I ran for mayor? Oh, we know exactly who you are. Now, this is Jimmy Dotson, okay? Officer Dotson, Mr. Homeless Quality of Life Officer, standing in my face with a gun pointed at me, going, we know exactly who you are. You're some homeless guy that hangs out in front of Starbucks. That was their reply, okay? And I'm like, great. I go, do you want me to call the homeowner, Eric? Sure. I try to call him on speaker. I get his voice back. At this point, the house had been listed. I go, do you want me to call the broker there whose name and number are on the sign to prove to you that I have the right to be here? Yes. I get her voice back. So at this point, Dotson goes upstairs, grabs my leather jacket, my laptop, my coffee maker, and my overnight bag, and throws them out on the front porch. Meanwhile, people are coming and going from the house next door. He goes over there and says, do you know if this guy's allowed to be here? And they happen to be guests of Mark and Linda that live in the house. I have the man's number. He actually agreed to testify that he witnessed this. They asked him if I had permission to be there, and they said yes. So then, finally, I said to these guys, I find it an incredible coincidence that every political who's who downtown knows I'm campaigning for Congress against Alan Lowenthal. And here you are trying to throw me out on the street. And Dotson looked at his partner and said, we're out of here, and they left. And that was it. They never explained why they were there. They never gave me any probable cause. They never even ran me for warrants or holds. They more or less illegally detained and interrogated me and tried to intimidate me into becoming homeless. Okay, they tried to eject me from my house. So, following that, I sent an email to Councilwoman Price, who knew that I had been a candidate for mayor, and I had spoken to, and she knows who I am, saying that the situation with John Harris is ongoing. I have emailed Douglas Halbert's office repeatedly asking them to do something about this while the police don't do anything. Her reply was, I forwarded your email to the appropriate departments, which turned out to be the city attorney's office. Out of the blue, I get a call from Investigator Mayora from the city attorney's office who wants to interview me about a damage claim. I didn't file any damage claims, so I called the man back. And I spent 47 minutes interviewing him, and I can give you a copy of that interview, where I stated, technically, I did not file a damage claim. And his reply to that was, well, we're using your email as a claim, and we're going to do it anyway. Okay? I made him describe to me 3 different times the procedure to file a damage claim and made it clear that I did not have one in my possession and that I may go and either download or get one at the city clerk's office. And was it along the way? What's that? The damage
claim, sorry to interrupt, the damage claim was for the harassment or for the...
For the police, the first two occasions where the police showed up at my garage.
Okay.
And when they showed up and tried to throw me out of my house.
Got it.
And how they've been negligent in doing anything about Harris.
Okay.
Even though I have been repeatedly calling the detectives department and have filed a police complaint against them.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Mayora informs me that they are going to file one anyway, even though I never agreed to it. So the following day, I am informed by Deputy City Attorney Monty Matchett that my claim was filed, but they dismissed it as frivolous. I'll tell you right now, the whole motive behind that was to stop me from filing a genuine damage claim. Now, when I demanded a copy of the claim and a copy of the interview, they were reluctant, obviously, to give me either. But I was finally victorious in getting a copy of the interview. When it came to a copy of the damage claim, which I can give you the actual damage claim number, which I have written on one of the CDs, the statement was completely black marked out. And Deputy Attorney Matchett claims that they were reserving attorney-client privilege.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know who they said I claimed damages against, what damages they said that I had incurred, or what sort of award I was requesting.
But you're saying you didn't want to file it, but they said we're going to...
I never did. They do not have any document in their possession with my signature on it. I can guarantee you that. I never went down there and filed anything. Now, the damage claim number is, if you want it, C14-0385. And like I said, I don't have a clue what it says because every single line on the 2 pages they emailed me were black marked out, and the only thing you could read was the clerk's filing stamp. So that happens. When I had interviewed with Mr. Mayora, I told him about the police taking my social security number and being hit with identity theft. He kept asking me over and over again, well, did you file any claims about it? Did you file any claims about it? I said, no, sir, because I've been waiting to make an official complaint with some authoritative body about the identity theft occurring before I address it with the credit service. I want them to know that it was a crime, and I want there to be an official record that I claimed it was a crime before I contact them. So what happens? The emails that I sent to Doug Howard's office demanding he do his job were deleted from my email account. And then I was once again hit with identity theft and fraud. Now, in 2016, I have been struggling to survive in some weird way. Ever since I tried to start my radio and television network, I have been running this gauntlet of bad luck. It's been very hard for me to live. After the police showed up at my garage, my friend who rents the unit is a single father of 2 children. He said, I don't know what happened. I trust you, Rich, but I don't want to lose my kids. So do you mind moving? I said, fine. So I had to take all of my equipment and move it somewhere else. I've also had to relocate from my residence 5 times in all of this. From harassment to police or droves of homeless people that show up, or all kinds of weirdness. At this point, it's been a struggle for me to survive. Now, I kind of lost my train of thought. Let's see, where were we at here? All right, so, in 2016, when I tried to open a bank account at Wells Fargo, preceding my congressional campaign, I went into Wells Fargo and sat down with one of the counselors there, and when she entered my information in the computer, all these red flags went on. It was amazing. She was surprised. And as it turns out, I've had identity theft and fraud so bad, I can't even open a business account, and I'm not allowed to deposit checks at an ATM machine. Okay? Now, this all started happening immediately after the Long Beach police showed up, when I posted comments on the internet criticizing city policy and public safety.
Okay.
All right?
This is the incident where they went to the garage and asked for your social security number.
This is in May or June of 2013. Ever since then, I have been getting massive fraud and all kinds of stuff. I haven't even been able to get a clear picture of it yet because I haven't been able to file a complaint. So all I can tell you is they were in awe at the bank about how bad it was. But they did let me open up a savings account. So I was able to at least try and get somewhere with that. So I run for Congress, and I didn't get anywhere in the primary, and I go back to my normal life. And meanwhile, Harris is still threatening me, okay? He keeps threatening. Finally, I call back to the, now through 216, he's chasing me around with his car. At one point in 2013, I told one of his fellow salesmen, you know, your buddy there likes trying to run me over in his Lexus. He's doing it left and right. You might want to tell your superiors about that. A week later, he was driving a different car. Now, along the way, I had called his employers back, and I had a long conversation with one of the company's attorneys. And I told him, your employee is threatening me. He's also involved in illegal gambling and crime at places where he's representing your company. I gave him all his information, and their reply to me was, well, we only operate on facts. So unless you provide us some facts to back up what you're saying, we're not going to do anything about it. And then later on, I tell the salesman, oh, by the way, your pal's trying to run me over with your company car there. And they basically took away his company car. But they didn't do anything about it. So 2016, I put the word out, I'm running for Congress. Harris is all over me again. I called the Violent Crimes Detectives Department back. I'm informed that Detective Monteburro is no longer with the department. Ironically, Sergeant Jones has disappeared too, by the way. I haven't seen him since. I'm told by now, he's the guy I filed the first police complaint with.
The one regarding the garage? Or
No, the one where the terrorist threat. The first terrorist threat police complaint. I have all the information, by the way, from that report. I took down all of the pertinent information from it. So, 2016, I'm ready to start running for Congress again. Harris goes into overdrive, chasing me around, threatening me, all this stuff. I call the detective division back. I'm informed the first detective is no longer with the department. Now I have to speak with the detective Green. He tells me that he's not afraid of the situation, and I have to file another police complaint. So I do. I'm immediately hit with another restraining order by Harris. This time, it's to stay away from his apartment. Now, after I've had to relocate so many times, I have managed to get storage spaces at a friend's house on 65th Place, which is 2 blocks from Harris's house. I keep everything I need to maintain my life and my livelihood here, while everything I own is in storage. Okay, I do maintenance and other kinds of work for the owner of this property and a few other people in the neighborhood. Harris knows this. He gets this restraining order against me to try and keep me from coming here. Okay, he has another one of his friends serve me the second restraining order, which he does in the middle of 65th Place in front of about 5 different people while Harris is in his car at the end of the street. Harris gets out of his car and says, now you can't come over here anymore. Then he gets in his car and he takes off. Apparently, they weren't satisfied with the distance on the restriction zone because it didn't keep me away from here. Harris continues threatening me. I file a third police complaint against him. He hits me with a third restraining order. The same individual that served me the second one serves me the third one in the same place at the same place.
So you're saying the police department was giving him information?
I'm not telling you anything. I'm going to let you arrive at your own conclusions. Okay? I'm just telling you what happened. So, after I filed my third police complaint, I am now hit with a third restraining order with a 150-yard restriction zone that eliminates my ability to come and go from technically my residence and maintain my livelihood. That is why he did it. Now, when I was arrested for violating the third restraining order, I was working on a client's car. I'm pretty sure I may have been within the restriction zone.
Okay.
I was charged twice when I was brought into court. I was charged after Harris hit me with the second restraining order. I came over here to 65th Place at about 9 o'clock in the evening to drop off some of my supplies. Harris came walking down the alley and literally stole my bicycle from me, telling me that the police were on their way, and if I wanted my bike back, that I had to wait for them. And then he went walking back up the end of the alley and stood at the end of the alley on Ocean Boulevard, calling the police. He intentionally immobilized me and tried to have me arrested for violating his restraining order. By coming over here to private property and stealing my property and telling me to wait for the police, who he had already summoned. I immediately called 911. I said, hey, some guy who's been threatening to kill me just showed up and stole my bike from private property. And now he's telling me that I have to wait for the police. And the dispatcher goes, oh, what's your name, sir? I go, Richard Kent. She goes, oh, you do have to wait for the police. I'm like, what, are you kidding me? This was 2 weeks before I was arrested in April of 2016. It was probably around the first of the month, maybe a little longer. So he shows up, steals my bike, and tells me I have to wait for the police, presumably to be arrested. So he calls the police, and they didn't show up. He called them back 3 times, and after about 2 hours, the police finally showed up. After all this, I decided to go stand off in the distance and just observe, because I wasn't going to get in the middle of this, okay? I was ambushed, and he's trying to get me thrown to jail. So while he was standing at the end of the street with my bike, the owner of 65th Place went up to him and tried to get my bike back. And I said to him, why are you doing this? And his reply was, I'm trying to get him arrested for calling my work. Okay, his entire motive is to not get in trouble for causing violence in my workplace or get charged with making terrorist threats against me. So he's been doing all of this, slandering me. Now here's an example of how forthwith the guy is. He told at least one or up to 3 judges that I am a 50-year-old Middle Eastern homeless drug addict. Okay? The 2 police that arrested me were even making jokes about it when they drove me downtown. So he lied to the court and told them I'm Middle Eastern to give them the impression I'm some kind of a drug-addicted potential terrorist. Well, he's terrorizing me. And I think that is one of the reasons why the police department won't give me a copy of the first police report I filed against him, or my arrest report, including my booking picture. Now, when I got freed after they threw me in jail, and I'll have you know, I filed to run for Congress. I qualify. No, wait a minute. I filed my documents. This is in 2016 when I did qualify. 4 days later is when Harris shows up and insists on having me arrested. And then they take me downtown. They hold me for 4 days. They let me out on my birthday. And I continued to go out and campaign, and I ended up qualifying for Congress. And so, once again, I lost my train of thought there. So I'm telling you, this is all tied together. Now,
Okay, so you requested, did you file a request to obtain copies of your records, the police
yes,
records? You did, and they said we can't provide them.
I was first informed by the police after I was let out of jail. I went down and requested the police report that I filed and my arrest report, including my booking picture. I was told that I had to have a criminal defense attorney to request the information. So I did. I asked Richard Poland, whose office is located catty corner to the police headquarters. He was denied. They wouldn't give it to him. So I called him back.
Did your attorney say why, or the police department, did they give a reason why they couldn't provide it? No.
So I then called them back, and I said, well, you didn't give it to the lawyer. How am I supposed to get this? They then told me that I had to go downtown, get fingerprinted, and spend $21, which I did. Then I again requested the initial police complaint and my arrest records. Eventually, I got a letter in the mail on police department letterhead stating that my request was denied. I have it right here. And they didn't refund my irrelevant, but that's just sort of depending where they're going there. So they won't give me copies of basically the evidence they used to convict me of a crime. Meanwhile, I'm on probation. I've lost all my civil rights.
The restraining order?
Oh yes. Now, when I went to court, it was the epitome of a kangaroo court. The officers that handcuffed me, a very hardcore gangbanger, to go to court with. When my case was called, I was never given any time to talk to my attorney beforehand. He walks up to the window. The moment they called my case, the gangbanger I'm handcuffed to decides he's going to take a nap on the bench. So I'm now having to stretch to even hear what is going on in the courtroom through the little teeny round window. The public defender walks up to me and tells me this is the deal. They want to give you 6 months in jail, or time served and 3 years probation, and this long list of things that I have to do if I get out. And I pleaded no contest because I wanted to get out of jail. Now, I'll tell you this right now. I don't think they want the public to see my booking picture. That's why they won't let me have it. Okay? It isn't pretty. And considering I was a candidate for Congress, or I'm campaigning for Congress, and I'm being arrested for violating a bogus restraining order that even the prosecutor knows is bogus, okay? This whole situation with Harris has been at their attention since at least 2014. And when I get hauled into court, facing charges that this guy perjured himself in front of at least one judge, at least 3 times, Halbert and his deputies want to throw the book at me. And then they hit me. One of the orders they gave me was I had to attend an anti-recidivism class. Okay? They dropped it. Let me back up a little bit here. They hit me with 2 charges when I appeared in court. They wanted to charge me with violating the restraining order the night Harris came over and stole my bike. But they dropped it. But they tried to tell me that I have to attend an anti-recidivism class. We're getting 2 charges at the expense of $249, and I have to do it within 30 days. But most people are given a year. It turned out that the class wasn't even available. What's that?
Did you ever file a restraining order against this person, or was it just him filing one against you?
Just him. I don't think you can file any police complaints against him.
Try filing a restraining order?
I kept waiting for the responsible people to do their job. See, I'm not, as crazy as this sounds, I don't like wasting the people's resources on a bunch of frivolous nonsense when the cops should be doing their job. That's really the problem here, okay? It isn't, this legal tit for tat using the court's resources. It's the police doing their job. Now, why they're not doing their job, I cannot explain. I'll leave you to come to your own conclusions, okay?
Absolutely. And
But if you see what...
let me ask you one last question. In regards to Detective Green, he said, I'm not aware of all this situation. What happened afterwards? Did he take a complaint? Or was it actually a complaint?
I filed a complaint with a patrol officer. The second one, I filed the second police complaint with a patrol officer over here on 65th Place. And I never heard from the detective. Okay. What's that?
You mentioned...
And again, now, before I forget, Harris continued to chase me around and threaten me with his car. I called Green at least 6 times, telling him this guy is still threatening me. And he never called me back.
You didn't get any call back?
Nothing. Now, Harris just did it again last week. Okay? I'm riding my bicycle down Division Avenue. I'm approaching Claremont. Harris comes accelerating up behind me in his black Lincoln SUV, swerves right up next to me, and then pulls in front of me and tries to cut me off so I could smash into a car. This has been going on for 4 years. Because he pulls up right next to me in his car with the window down and is looking at me. I know what his car looks like.
Since 2013, was he a coworker, a friend, a classmate?
He is a local resident that worked for the liquor distributor and also works for another resident that is part of the San Pedro Mafia.
Okay.
Everybody knows it.
And do you know why he's harassing you? Do you know why he's trying to kill you, hurt you, or why he's making all these threats?
Yes, it's what's called a plausibly deniable way to threaten and intimidate me so I don't continue participating in the public process. Okay. The fact that the police won't do their job for almost 4 years coming to the conclusion that someone within the department is protecting Harris. And what they're doing is making 3 or 4 judges now, including the criminal judge, unwitting accomplices in using the court system to threaten and harass me. When everybody who lives on the peninsula is getting sick of Harris harassing me. He comes and parks his car over here on the street. He chases me around. He goes around insulting me to people, and they tell him, that's not Richard. What are you talking about? I mean, it's ridiculous. Now, it goes even further. Now, in order to prove that Harris is an associate of Mr. Organized Crime, I've taken videos of him coming and going from his house, and I posted them on my Facebook page. The first video was deleted from my phone. The second video, the entire file was deleted from my phone, except for the first frame showing Harris in and out in front of this guy's house. They're somehow manipulating and stealing data from my phone. And I'm pretty sure it's Stingray CCS devices, okay? I have had 5 email accounts taken down, including the one I had when I ran for Congress. Rich Camp for Congress 2016 at gmail.com. When I try to log on, I am now told it does not exist. I established another email called the Acres of Books Restoration and Preservation Society, or aob.prs@yahoo.com. It's gone. I'm on my 3rd Facebook page because I keep having content deleted or getting blocked out of my account. I've had, so people are using, what?
The last interaction you mentioned with the police was in 2016. Has anything else happened with the police department since?
What's going on now? They won't give me records for arresting me.
And that's why you're filing the complaint. That's the reason why.
Everything.
2000, right? But you waited until 2017 because is there a reason?
It's all part and parcel of the same pattern and campaign of threats, intimidation, gross negligence. This isn't, just because one thing happened then, it's all connected. It's just a long. Okay.
Why until 2017?
Frankly, ma'am, I've been investigating corruption here at the city level. It's taken this long for all of the parties to participate in one way or another in a way that implicates them. From the prosecutors to the city attorneys, even including people from the gas and oil department, human resources, on and on and on. I've been letting them attack me until enough evidence has been presented to prove that they are deliberately attacking me and that all of this isn't a string of coincidental bad luck. It's been going on since before I got involved in politics, and it continues to this day.
You mentioned you have information, witness information, evidence. Is it possible, I know you don't have an email account, maybe we can meet so I can get that information from you? I can meet you at an address you provide, or I can meet you here at our office.
That's fine.
Best.
That's fine. I don't mind meeting you somewhere. I'll just present. Just tell me what you'd like. I'll tell you what I've got, and I'll bring it to you.
Okay, yeah. It can be. Is the city hall close to you? Would you rather meet here at our office or somewhere closer to where you're at?
You mind coming to Belmont Shore?
No, I don't.
All right. I'll just meet you at like the Starbucks or something.
Okay, yeah. We'll schedule an appointment. Let me get your contact information. So I have your telephone number. Your full name is Richard Camp.
Richard Anthony Camp.
Okay. And what's your DOB?
41970.
Okay, 70. And your mailing address?
I don't really have one right now. I've been my life has been downgraded to the point where I'm now I've been a long-term guest of a number of friends, and I've been surviving on revolving sofas. So hard to rent an apartment when your credit's been destroyed.
Is there because you will be getting correspondence from us. Maybe once you set up an email, you can provide me the email address if there's a mailing address where we can.
Well, why don't let me ask a couple friends if it's okay with them.
You can let me know when we.
Now, up to this point, it was okay with my friend that owns 65 65th Place. That's where Harris served me twice, and that's where the police sent my denial letter. But my friend here, by the way, was under attack from the city codes enforcement all this time. So they showed up at his door and announced that he was in violation for something that someone had gone into the building code records and found from 10 years ago and put him through hell and cost him thousands and thousands of dollars.
Right.
But it turned out to be some minor repair in a bathroom. He had to have an architect redraw the entire building. All of this stuff. And then when his stuff should have been approved, they declined it, and he had to go through a whole other process to deal with other people. It was just a nightmare.
Let me ask.
Now, this is the guy that's helping me survive, okay?
What's his name again? It's not, you mentioned you gave me a name of the person where the officers asked you to leave. It's not
the owner of the house. The house was...
Not Eric.
Eric owned the house that I was living in when the police showed up. Its address is 5701 East Seaside Walk.
Okay.
It's at the time it was appraised at $1.9 million. So, now I'll tell you something about me, okay? When a rock star asks me to watch his house so that groupies and fans don't show up and trash it, that ought to tell you that he trusts me. The fact that I don't drink and I don't do drugs and stuff like that probably helps too. But so here we are. I have been left in legal limbo. I can neither contest my case nor get out of the system. Oh, by the way, I also tried to get copies of the first two restraining orders that Harris got against me, and the court does not have them. I was informed that they're not in the file. When I tried to get a copy of my arrest report, it was not in the file, including my booking picture. When I went to see my probation commissioner 2 days after they let me out of jail, I requested a hearing because the restriction zone that Harris had been awarded wouldn't allow me to travel past 58th Place on the peninsula without being in violation. The prosecutors, who were asked twice by the judge, gave him the wrong address of Harris's residence. And something else. Oh, I had to ask for more time to attend the class that they ordered me to spend $250 on in 30 days because there wasn't one available for 32 days.
What's your...
So, I'm white.
Okay. So Richard Camp, 41920, White, the address...
70, 41970.
Not 20. Sorry, 70. And you're going to provide me a mailing address next time. Okay, I have your telephone number. So, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to start writing the report, get all the statements you've provided, and then most likely I will have some follow-up questions because you've shared a lot of information. So, next time we meet, I'll probably have a list with questions of mine, and then I'll get the documents, evidence, whatever information you have that's relevant to your case. Once you give me the mailing address, we're gonna initiate the claim on your behalf. You'll be getting your case number via mail.
You know what? Why don't you go ahead and use 65 65th Place? Because that's where everything else is coming off of.
What is it? 65,
65th Place. That's the actual address. It's a 5-plex. It's an apartment building, and it has 5 units in it.
Okay. So give me the address one more time.
65 65th Place. 65 Place.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. 6565.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number? That's it. It's the primary unit in the building. It has its own address. The other ones are 69, A, B, and C. No, 65. 67. Anyway, yeah, that's...
65, 65. Okay.
Yeah, 65 is its own address, and the other units in the building are different. And A, B, and C.
Okay. Then let me start working on this, and I will give you a call back. Is tomorrow fine?
Yeah, the sooner the better, because I'll be honest with you, I have to go to court on Wednesday to see my probation commissioner.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell her all of this, that I haven't been able to get my arrest report, that I've been getting the runaround, that the guy who got the order against me has been threatening me and continues to threaten me while the police won't do anything about it. And at the time, last year, I had asked her to consider revoking the other 2 years of my probation. Now, all this time, I haven't attended that class because I've been trying to take this matter to court. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to go and I'm going to request a little more time to attend the class.
Let me give you my direct line in case you have any questions for me or you need to contact me.
Can you? I don't have any. Actually, do I have a pen? Oh, I do have a pen. Hold on. I have my little messenger pen. Actually, after I called and you said you were going to call me back, I went and gathered my files and all this stuff. I forgot I had. So, well, I'll give you, if you want, I'll give you at least the police terrorist threat reports. I have the numbers.
Perfect.
All right. Well, give me your number first.
It's 562.
Yeah.
570 6405.
6405. Your name is Selenia? Selenia, okay. What was your last name again?
T-E-R-E.
Okay. All right. Now, let's see here. All right. I have first one recorded here in my pocket. I also have the number of a witness. I was in the house next door when the police showed up at on Seaside Walk there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get that too.
All right.
I'm ready.
The first police report I filed was on 12/3/13.
Okay.
It was call number 1048. It was taken by Officer A. Jones.
Okay.
Badge number 5200.
Got it.
It is report number 13 dash 73506.
Perfect. Okay.
And yes.
Nice. That's the first one.
Yeah, that's the first complaint. Let me cards. The witness to the 2014 event.
This is when the officers entered the house and asked you to leave.
Yeah, and they have their guns out. Okay, you know it's not cool to have people pointing guns at you.
Right.
Let's see here. I'm standing out here by the seawall and I'm in the wind. Let me hold on a second. I'm trying to.
I'll get all that next time we meet. That way you have it all. You know where everything's at.
Well, actually, I want to give you this stuff right now because the more information you have, I think the safer I am. I'm being honest with you. Okay? I'm not concerned about my safety. This isn't about just. I'm not trying to get into some battle with the law enforcement. I was actually out there sticking up for him, calling pension reform an unspoken threat to public employees to look the other way while a bunch of dirty deals were going down if we're going to have their pensions reformed. I even said as much up there on the campaign trail, which is one other reason why I think I've been having to deal with all this nonsense. There's a lot of folks out there that don't want the public to be discussing stuff like this. So, all right, hold on. Yeah, I have it, but I can't seem to figure it out here. But the interview I did with the city attorney's office is posted on my Facebook scroll down through my posts, you'll find it. And in the interview, I give Larry Flint's phone number to the investigator. You can actually get the witness. Now, Harris actually threatened to kill me one day while he was sitting on someone's patio over here on the Bayside, drinking wine with the resident. I turned around and I told the police that Harris just threatened to kill me in front of the resident over here and a bunch of kids on the beach, and then stood up and threw a glass of wine at me. The police never did anything about it, and I even told the investigator from the city attorney's office about it and gave him the man's address. They never went and questioned him. And then the guy went to work one day and suddenly dropped dead. Okay. Oh, by the way, my friend Bob Campbell, who tried the petition campaign, well, they were allowed to go present their petitions to the council. A bunch of people were given T-shirts by the fire department union saying "Save Station 8." They stood in the audience while Bob visually held up his 1,050 petitions, even though they didn't take them and file them into the record. And then a week later, Bob dropped dead. Had a sudden heart attack at his computer. I was there the next day, and his mom told me, "Oh, Bob died last night. They came and just scooped him up." And then the following Monday, I had a detailing appointment with his doctor, who happens to be my doctor. And I said, "It's too bad about what happened to Bob, huh?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Oh, he died Friday night." He goes, "Well, that's odd, because they never called me to make the death declaration like they usually do when it's one of my patients." Yeah, and then another little factoid. The founder of Occupy Long Beach, Mr. Gendell, jumped into the 2014 mayoral race late in it, and a week later, he was killed in a car crash on the 5th and Thomas Bridge.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah. He was a Berkeley professor.
Yeah.
He was just advocating transparency and best practices and all kinds of stuff like that. And he somehow rear-ended himself to death into a truck on the 5th and Thomas Bridge. So all of that's been going on. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Mr. Camp, thank you very
Fucking
much for your time
unbelievable.
and for the information you've provided. Like I said, I'll initiate a complaint on your behalf, and I'll be contacting you soon to schedule an appointment so we can or I can get all the information you have and have you answer some follow-up questions if you don't mind. So,
Do you want the case number for my arrest report?
yes, if you have it handy now, yes, I'll take it.
Because I want to, I'm trying to hold the phone in my ear and shift through all these documents. I'm having a hard time. But I have my court papers in the same envelope that the police sent me my denial request in.
The documents you have, are they copies? Do you have?
The two, which ones?
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because I'm going to need documents, so I don't know if I'm going to be taking your originals or if they're copies. If not, what we can do, we can schedule an appointment here at the Citizen Police Complaint Commission, and I can make copies for you and give you the originals.
Sure. My case number is 6LB 01930.
Okay. Is there other information or just the 6LV01930?
This is my notice to my defendant to attend the class. What other information can I give you there?
Well, for the arrest, is there a booking number maybe? Or any date when you were booked?
It would have been, well, here I have my, let's see here. This is actually, I pulled out the second police report I filed against Harris.
Okay, what is it?
16-12176. The court date was 2/24/16. Primary offense was 4 Tristan Corbett, Officer Corbett, who, by the way, has disappeared since then, along with Sergeant Jones.
Do you have his
Can't,
number?
his badge number? I'm looking here.
Should be next to his
6062.
Okay. Okay. So I'll be giving you a call back soon, Mr. Camp, so we can schedule the
Yeah. Yeah, I gave him this at 6566 branch on the 24th. Yeah, immediately after this, that Harris hit me with the second restraining order. And then a couple weeks later, they hit me with the third one. Now, the guy that hit me with the second and third restraining order is a local drug dealer that everybody knows. Okay? The guy hangs out in front of the liquor store I used to work at and deals drugs. Okay? And they both know that this is harassment, the reason they're serving. They're friends of Harris.
Just to finalize, I do want to clarify that we only investigate allegations of police misconduct. So anything related to the police department, we will be looking into.
That's fine.
Okay. The other department or other individuals would not be under our jurisdiction. Just.
I understand. I know the process.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I'll be contacting you soon. If you have any questions,
All
this is
right.
my direct line.
Okay, if you try to contact me on my cell phone and it says that I am I'm unavailable, it's because I ran out of airtime.
Okay.
But you can still send me text messages.
Okay, great.
So if you send me a text message that this is you and you need to contact me, then I will very likely be able to get up. I might be working and I'll run out of time and I have to go buy some or whatever.
Okay.
You can always communicate with me with a text.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Camp. You have a good day.
Sure. I'd like to hope something happens here. Thanks.
No, let's hope nothing happens unless it's something good.
Well, yeah. I just want to, I have to ride down the wrong side of the street every day so I can see who's coming, so Harris doesn't come up behind me and run me over.
No,
People are always giving me static about riding the wrong way on the street, and I'm like, well, if the cops would do their job, I could travel like normal people.
Yeah.
You know?
All right. Well, thank
What
you.
can I tell you?
Have a good day.
All right. Thank you for your time.
No problem.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
It is April 17, 2017, 10:42 a.m. On the line with me is Mr. Richard Camp.
Can you believe that? Where are we at here? We are at almost an hour and 10 minutes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes my completely fruitless effort to solve this problem with the Long Beach Police Commission. There you go. Now, the next audio interview is going to be with Christopher Mayora, the investigator for the Long Beach City Attorney's Office, who once again basically wasted my time in a fruitless effort in the pursuit of due process to only be denied due process. And to this day, I cannot get a copy of that damage claim. So there you go, folks.